In this video, we're going to be sharing 6 ways you can prevent knee pain for boxing. Hello everybody, welcome to Boxing Science. In this video, we're going to be sharing tips and strategies on how to reduce knee pain in boxers. In boxing, quite a lot of knee injuries occur. We've seen people like Canelo end up having knee surgery, and often in the gym, boxers complain of knee injuries, either lead leg or rear leg. It all depends on a boxing style. The reason why the knees have so much kind of injuries is because boxers generally have a lot of loading going through their knees, whether it's in their boxing training or in their running conditioning. In their boxing training, they're doing a lot of twisting and turning through that lower body whilst the knees are flexed. So there's a lot of loading going through this knee. Also, they're in this open stance. They're in the boxing stance, which creates tight hips, which are linked to knee injuries, and also tight adductors as well. Most boxers don't really get out of that sagittal plane. When we do the lateral lunge and press, for example, often feel quite tight in their adductors. So the adductors are growing muscles sitting on the inside of the hip down to the inside of the knee, and tight adductors often contribute towards knee pain and knee injuries. When you're looking at the lead knee and the rear knee, often get different injuries for different reasons. The lead knee gets a lot of impact forces because there's a lot of loading going through that front leg. It's creating small accelerations and decelerations to get into offensive or defensive positions. A lot of force being absorbed, especially when you're looking to feint and push off that front foot. So the knee gets a lot of loading through there. And then the rear knee can end up being quite tight because being in this open stance, the rear leg is externally rotated, and then this is putting a lot of tightness on the TFL muscle, so tensor fasciae latae. This is a hip flexor muscle that sits from your hip to the side of your femur, and then this is also linked to that IT band. The IT band is connective tissue going on the side of your thigh, connecting the hip to the knee. When this becomes tight, it can create a lot of knee pain. That's it from a boxing point of view. Let's think about the other conditioning stimulus that boxers do. They do a lot of running. So if they're quite tight in their hips, they're getting a lot of loading through their knees, and they're doing miles and miles on the road, doing a lot of running, that ends up leaving a boxer quite vulnerable to knee pain. So in this video, what we're going to be doing is giving you 6 strategies on how to alleviate knee pain, but also help prevent it. This is not for people that are rehabbing knee injuries, like serious ones, such as an ACL or MCL reconstruction, but it's something that to help try and prevent anybody that's having a little bit of inflammation around this area, a bit of pain, and can really help. So these are the 6 things that I do with a fighter that is struggling with knee pain, with the 6th one being the most important. So number 1 is improving hip mobility and stability. Hip mobility and stability has a huge impact on the impact forces of the knee. The more unstable and the less mobile that the hips are, the more loading that's going to go through that knee joint. So what you want to do is try and open up the hips, alleviate any tension through the hip flexors to have more mobile and stable hips to then reduce knee pain. So things that you can do is a banded hip floss stretch to really target the mobility and flexibility of the hip flexors and the quadricep muscles. You want to be doing lunge variations such as lunge and rotate, lateral lunge and press, because this is going to be really opening up the hips, and making sure you're really consistent with this. Being consistent with your hip flexor stretching, your hip stability work, really important because we're spending hours and hours in this boxing stance. So we need to make sure that we're opening the hips, working in different planes of motion to really open up the hips, create some mobility and stability for hips, and this will help reduce knee pain. Tip number 2 is going to be improving glute strength. So you improve your glute strength through a range of different exercises such as hip thrusts, single leg hip thrusts, glute bridges, banded glute bridges, and a range of different bridge type exercises. The reason why we want to strengthen the glutes is because this is linked with hip stability. Stronger glutes is going to help you being able to maintain that hip stability and reduce them impact forces going through the knee. A really important muscle group to target is the glute med. So the glute medius sits to the side of the glutes, and because we're quite tight in the hips, particularly the TFL muscle, as I explained earlier, the glute med is often underdeveloped. And the glute med is really important for that hip stability, but also that hip rotation during a punch. Now, if the glute med isn't as strong, what we'll tend to do is that knee starts to come into valgus position. And when you're doing this in a boxing stance, where you're twisting and turning, you've got a lack of knee stability. And then when you're going out and running, this is going to be affecting that loading through the knees. So the glute med is really vital. Now, this is something that we highlight on our single leg squat to stand assessment, where we're having a look at how an athlete is controlling that knee flexion, hip flexion during a single leg squat. And what we're likely to see is that knee to shift on the inside. And this is highlighting tight adductors and weak abductors. So the adductors are the long muscle on the inside of your groin. The abductors are more or less the glute med. So we wanted to strengthen the glute med. This is through a range of different exercises, such as like the banded side clams and the banded side walks, but also you can target it through different exercises such as like the offset reverse lunge, a lot of offset work as well during your strength exercises. What would be quite good to do is to increase your glute activation during your boxing specific actions. And a great way to do this is doing banded shadow box. The banded shadow box helps you maintain a better position in terms of your knee coming in. So the band is bringing your knee in when you're throwing your backhand or your lead hand, especially if you're throwing bent arm shots from the lead hand. And with the band, if you're going with the momentum of the band, squeezing together, you're going to be in a disadvantaged position. Using the mini bands is helping you kind of push your leg out into the better position and engaging your glutes and your glute med during boxing specific actions. So if you're somebody that is struggling with your knee pain during boxing, using some mini bands in your warm-up, let's say do a round of 3 minutes of banded shadow boxing, or doing some sort of intervals similar to what we do in our speed strength phases, where we're doing 30-second intervals of really intense boxing with the bands on. This can really fire up your glutes in that boxing specific stance, get you into technically better positions that can help alleviate the pressure on your knees during boxing. So tip number 3 is to perform soft tissue release. Soft tissue release work is like a term given to like any sort of massage or self-massage techniques. And what we're wanting to do is to relieve the tension of the muscles anywhere that you're feeling quite tight. Now, in regards to the knee, there's a few things that can contribute. Obviously, we've got the adductors, we've got the quadriceps, we've got the IT band, and also we've got like the piriformis, which is vital for hip stability. So here's a little demonstration on how to do this with a massage gun. This is the Bob and Brad T2 Pro massage gun. And this comes with detachable heads, including a heat and cold therapy, which is going to be beneficial in your muscle recovery. These are available on Amazon. You can get the link in the description. You can get 10% discount using this discount code, BobBrad401. Hit the link in the description if you want to get your hands on one of these T2 Pro massage guns. So the first port of call is the quadricep muscles. So we can just look to try and just work up and down here, working the quadricep muscles. Obviously, I think that it's okay with your athlete. Is it okay, Ben, to just lift up? Especially when you're using the heat application. So if you can just press the heat, get a heat sensation onto the skin. And this is where you can start releasing some tension through the quads. Find a trigger point and maybe try and go like that a little bit deeper, increase the vibrations going through the massage gun. But also what you can do is go from a lengthened state into a shortened state. So what we're going to do is just align your knee just a little bit more, get into that trigger point, and I want you to extend your leg. So this is shortening and then releasing. So this is really getting towards that trigger point there. And this will release that tension going through the quads and the hip flexors, help relieve kind of like any tension going through your knee. So I mentioned in the video already about their IT band. So the IT band runs from your hip to your knee along the side of the femur. The IT band is a connective tissue, so it's quite hard to stretch out. There's a range of different stretches that you can do, but they're often quite difficult to perform. So the best way of doing this and releasing some tension through the IT band is with massage gun or with a foam roller. So using the massage gun again. I'm going to just apply that pressure, going from bottom to top. Trying to find them trigger points there. Can't quite see the grimace on Ben's face. Whilst we're doing this, you can see that it's quite painful. So you start off with the lighter setting, obviously lighter tension. And as the muscle starts getting warmed up, you can start applying that little bit more pressure in there. Piriformis is a small muscle that is actually underneath the glute. And this is responsible for internal rotation. And because boxers are quite externally rotated, the piriformis ends up being quite tight. With the piriformis being tight, this can end up feeling like a little bit of back pain. So anybody that's like had that sciatic nerve pain where I get that lower back pain and the pain going down your leg, often is down to being a little bit tight in this piriformis muscle here. With knee pain, obviously, because it's tight in external rotation, piriformis is tight, so then this increases the tension going through the knee. Because this is a smaller muscle and you have to be a little bit more direct, I've just changed the attachment on the massage gun so we can go a little bit more targeted. So we need to bring up the leg into a flex position, and we're going to just kind of sit just beneath the glute area here. I can feel that I've got that more or less straight away, Ben, yeah? Basically, you're getting through to the glute, through to this piriformis muscle here. Now then you can work it similar to the quadricep muscle where you're working the tension through range of motion. So we can go into internal and external rotation, where the muscle is lengthened in internal rotation and tighter in an external rotation. So going from where the muscle is shortened through external rotation into shortened position, applying that pressure into there whilst it's going into internal rotation. Okay, so it's not only the upper part of the lower limb that connects to the knee, it's also the lower part of the limb, especially these calf muscles here. So the calf muscles can end up being quite tight with boxers. The gastrocnemius is quite well developed. So when we're actually doing our massage gun, we want to be trying to get into towards the back of the knee here, but also wanting to make sure that this is relaxed. So if I would go into the massage gun here, gastrocnemius is quite tight and it's not actually going to be that painful for an athlete and not getting that soft tissue release. So what I'd look to do is, I'll just demonstrate on this leg here, is just pop the leg up into this position here. So then you can see that the muscle belly there is going to be a lot more relaxed than when the leg is straight. Is then work the calf either side, and this is getting the gastrocnemius relaxed, so then you're able to massage it, but also with the gastrocnemius being relaxed, you're able to target the soleus. And all these muscles linking towards the back of your knee, which is going to help relieve that knee pain. And also when you do work on the outside, you'll find like a little bit of a trigger point there. What you can do is get in an extended position into a flex position. Okay, extend your toes, then flex. Extend your toes, then flex. What this will do as well is improving and increasing ankle mobility, because we know that with reduced ankle mobility, you're going to get increased knee flexion and knee pain. So that's how to use the Bob and Brad T2 Pro Massage Gun. You can get yours today on Amazon. Use the link in the description, as well as a 10% discount code BobBrad401. Tip number 4 is to perform your lower body strength exercises. You need to get stronger around that knee, so you can be looking at like some quadricep based exercises, such as like a leg extension, so doing a leg extension machine or doing some sort of long form isometrics on that leg extension machine. This can help reduce that knee pain. Talking from a strength and conditioning perspective, probably want to move away from heavy loaded squats. Want to keep squats in the program, doing something like a box squat can help relieve that tension going through the knee, reducing that range of motion as well. Variations such as like the goblet squat with the mini bands around the knees, this can improve your glute strength and glute contribution during a squatting action. Key lower body lifts really need to be like more hip dominant exercises, so you're targeting the posterior chain. Doing the trap bar deadlift, potentially doing trap bar deadlift from blocks, again, making it more of a posterior chain exercise. Maybe like looking at improving hamstring and glute strength through Romanian deadlift, rack Romanian deadlift, kettlebell Romanian deadlift. Exercises to strengthen that posterior chain can help improve your knee health. So number 5 is introducing low level plyometrics. So if you're an athlete that is struggling with knee pain, doing low level plyometrics you have to be quite cautious with, but RSI, reactive strength index, is really important to improve lower body stiffness. And this lower body stiffness is basically improving our ability to absorb and reproduce force effectively. If you can't absorb that force effectively, what's going to happen, you're going to have more knee flexion, more pressure going through the knees, and then this is going to be contributing to your knee injury. So for example, if somebody's coming in, fainting, coming on the way in, pushing in and out of attacking defensive positions, going off that front foot, what's going to happen is that knee is going to be flexing more loading going through that knee. So we're needing to improve our reactive strength index. Now, we say about low level plyometrics to start off with, because if you are struggling with knee pain, last thing that you want to be doing is doing really advanced plyometrics. So low level plyometrics, stuff like low pogos, band assisted pogos, bar assisted pogos, and then also with your jumping exercises, you want to be reducing them impact forces. So potentially doing box jumps for a period of time, because you're going to be improving that rate of force development, but not exposing yourself to the high impact forces that's associated with plyometrics. And then also you can start building up stability through hop and hold exercises. So doing a hop and hold, doing some ice skater variations. This is going to be challenging your hip and knee stability through a dynamic action. Better stability and coordination that you have, getting your knee into the right positions instead of like kind of folding on the inside, showing some knee stability, some knee jerk responses. You're going to make sure that you're creating more stability through dynamic actions, which can then transfer into keeping your knee stable during boxing. So tip number 6 is the most important one, is managing your running loads and your programming. The biggest contributor probably to knee pain is probably your training loads. So increased training loads, if you have a spike in training load, then you're more likely to get injured. Also, training monotony, meaning the lack of variation in your training, can have an impact on injuries. And this is not just talking about knee pain, it's just talking about injuries in general. So if you're suffering from knee pain, you might want to have a little bit of variation in terms of your training. Have some heavy days, have some lighter days. But really what I'm trying to focus on here is variations in your conditioning. So instead of just going out on long road runs, this is going to create a lot of training monotony, a large amount of impact forces, doing steady plodding, which is going to be tightening up the hips and a lot of tension going through the knees. This is where a lot of boxers end up getting knee injuries and lower limb injuries, is going through extensive conditioning protocols. So managing your conditioning, you look for different variations in terms of intensities and volumes. So you want to be doing 3 HIIT sessions a week, maybe 2 high loading sessions and then 1 medium load session. So you're changing the monotony, and also you're reducing the monotony by doing an active recovery session as well. Not only changing the volumes, intensities, but also the methods behind it as well, the type of conditioning that you're doing. Maybe doing a treadmill, a curve, an air bike as well, to do some off-feet conditioning as well. This can all contribute to reducing any kind of chances of knee injuries and also reducing knee pain. If you are an athlete that is suffering from knee pain during running, what you're likely to do is to do some low intensity running to start off with, and for your high intensity interval training sessions to do that on the air bike. If you are trying to increase your running volume, doing stuff like tempo runs to start off with, or maybe even like if you're really suffering with a knee injury, doing stuff like on the anti-gravity treadmill, if you can access one that's quite nearby to build up that running volume under light loads. Then also doing the altitude training tent, where you're going to be able to create some physical adaptations at a lower running speed. These are all contributing factors to return somebody from a knee injury. Okay guys, so that's the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching. If this has been really helpful for you, but you need a little bit more support, you can now book a consultation call with myself. My booking form is in the description, or if you've got any more questions, just drop me an email, dannywilson@boxingscience.co.uk. If you're not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any future content. I'll see you on the next video.